created by you. This looks interesting. And so I kind of followed the trail, and that's how I became aware of this series of videos. I'm going to play a couple of the videos for you because they're only about 30 seconds long, and I'm going to watch 3 of them. It's a minute and a half, and that will tell you a lot more than I probably could in 5 minutes. So the first video is Lynn. Hopefully everything works.
I'm coming towards you. Are you ready? Well, I've become a sports enthusiast as I work out. I do Pilates, I'm a swimmer, I climb mountains, and I've become an artist as I wrote the press, a poet, I'm working on a memoir. And don't forget that I wrote several books that have to do with the erotic on the very highest intellectual plane. Every news feed is different, but mine is a kind of a literary cafe. It's a virtual meeting place for writers, journalists, other kinds of creative persons. I build my newsfeed through commenting on ideas of other people that interest me or connect with my own personal passions. Oh, I forgot to mention the sexy thing. I don't have any newsfeed romances going on right now, but remember that I speak several languages, so people are in danger all over the world.
So that's Lynn. This is Tate Vaughn.
I really dig my newsfeed. It's informative, it's funny, it's inspiring. It has a cornucopia of possibilities. Yes, sometimes there's stuff in there where you don't really need to see what someone ate for lunch over and over again, but you can unfollow them without defriending them. You say, listen, I appreciate that you love your lunch. I'm content to not know about your lunch. It does not give you bad karma to unfollow somebody. It is practical. You're following your dharma. And sometimes following your dharma means unfollowing something else in life.
Alright, last one.
Even though I'm from the South and I grew up eating kind of soul food, I still incorporate all that into what I do now. I just do food stuff, vegan food stuff. For me, newsfeed is the way I curate my life. You know, all my interests are right there. Taste spotting, food gawker, finding vegan, Bon Appetit magazine. My newsfeed represents what my life is. So when I'm liking new pages, new posts about veganism, my newsfeed becomes more vegan too.
So these videos, as they currently live on the Facebook tips page, all received a large number of views, I think for a general video, 4 million, usually in the 4 million range, and received a lot of comments. In addition to receiving comments, Facebook tips, as you can see on the right, it appeared like they were replying to user comments, and most of the user comments, based on the way that it's presented in the page. For me, this presented a site of very interesting data collection, because here we have Facebook presenting itself as a product, as a brand to users, and we have a space where users are reacting to that, and then Facebook's responding back. So what I was able to do was to scrape all the comments in order of if they were an original comment or if they were replied threads. And I found that actually Facebook tips didn't reply as much as it looked like they did. And I just wanted to put the numbers there so that you guys have a feel for that. But with this data, I asked the following research questions. How is Facebook representing newsfeed? What tactics are used? Where is agency placed? What tactics do users employ to combat Facebook's representation? And what do these tactics tell us about how users are making sense of newsfeed? For the method, the videos are probably going to end up being their own paper, which is why I just wanted to kind of show them to you right now and focus more on what I've done with the comments. But what I started doing with those is an argument analysis where we're just identifying the claims that are made in the video. So primarily that your Facebook newsfeed should mirror the things that make you happy, that you're interested in, and so on. But in the comments, I applied a discourse analysis, and I coded for the individual thought. I used the program Deduce, and it was an iterative process. And what I mean by that was I read through all the comments one time, and in total there were about 6,300 comments across those videos. So I read through the comments one time, not coding, just to kind of get a feel for what was happening in there. The second time I went through, I used Deduce, and I started to code for the individual thought, and I got a lot of codes that came out of that. So in the third time, we collapsed some of those codes to look for primary themes. And everybody's squinting, so I hope I'm explaining this right. Great, it's my first try, so yeah, excellent. Now the hard part, and this is where I really would like you guys' feedback, because I haven't presented data back like this, and I found trying to do the slides how challenging it is, because so many of the answers feed into each other. So the way that I've arranged that is I'm going to start with a slide of key findings, and I'm going to back into that by giving examples afterwards, and just move through the research questions that way. So the first research question asks, how did Facebook represent newsfeed? From the videos, we found that it values entertainment over challenges, that it values content over friendship, conflates the technical and the social. I'm going to get into these in depth. And the tactics that are used overall are misrepresentation, assignment of responsibility to users, authority, and technical. Very broad right now, but hold your horses. I'll be right into that.
I'm sorry, Stacy,
Yeah.
just clarification, I'm sure you said this, but just so I know what you're saying. This is the comments, and so when you say Facebook, it's like Facebook tips?
Yeah, Facebook
And this is
tips.
not the videos?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank
So, and I'm going to state, I'm going to shorthand Facebook instead of Facebook tips, but everything that's replying here is Facebook tips. And you'll find that the users do what I do, they reply back as though it's Facebook. There doesn't seem to be a distinction made between Facebook tips and Facebook. And just for full disclosure, the Facebook tips employees replied back using different names. So Facebook tips would reply, and what was that slide? You might see, so you'll see where it says Rose. So there were different employees that wrote back, and they were allowed to sign off on who they were. What I found, though, was that most of the responses are generic, cut and paste, that apply to certain specific instances, and then the rest are, hey, Lana, because they said, hey, will you say hi to me? And so they mix them in such a way that the users experienced it like they weren't cut and paste. Unless you read across the videos or read a number of back-to-back comments within one, it really did feel like they were responding one after another individually, and it felt like hands-on. So it was interesting when I actually broke them all down to see how many were cut and paste. And why it was that way, I don't know, but probably had something to do with pre-approved, statements that brands can make, and when you allow people to speak on your brand's behalf. But so yes, this is all pertaining to the comments.
And for now, you don't really know that much about, like, what the political economy of the Facebook, like, how that's operated, if they're click workers somewhere, if they're Facebook.
Correct, and that's not part of the research
Yeah,
question.
perfect, no problem.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
So in terms of tactics, what tactics was Facebook using? When I say misrepresentation and assignment of responsibility, here's an example of an exchange between a user and Facebook tips. The user asks, who decides the order of my feed? Why does something that was posted 22 days ago show up in front of a recent post? I would like it in my feed if it's actually current. And Facebook writes back, Facebook tips writes back, if you want to see stories in the order that they are posted, you can adjust your newsfeed to most recent. And we see this constantly in the replies, the assignment of responsibility, there's this repetition of you. Very, very rarely do they invoke the we or the I or anything, the system or anything. It's always, you can take care of it, here's how the tools that you have to do that. And that's what I mean by assignment of responsibility. In terms of misrepresentation, this is actually one in a series of slides that there was a story that kept happening where a user would say, I'm going to make it incredibly clear to you. I want to see in chronological order, and by that I mean by timestamp of the original post, all of my friends and all of their pages, and that's what I want. And Facebook would reply back with, well, you can see stories in the order that they're posted. You can just adjust your newsfeed to most recent. That's not factual at all, based on the way that newsfeed works. If you're operating on an understanding that I want posts in order, and the understanding that Facebook is operating on, or what I call the misrepresentation, is that if we are mutual friends, and if Mish and I have a mutual friend, and I post something, and Mish comments on Tuesday, and Mish comments on it on Friday, it's going to show it to Weii on Friday as most recent because of that connection between the two of us. It counts the comment on Friday as content that counts as most recent. And there's clearly a misunderstanding going on for a lot of the users. For a lot of the users, they understand what's going on, and they're just saying, I don't want it that way. And Facebook replies as though they have it that way. Second step, assignment of responsibility. Why do I keep getting old posts? Why can't I just see the recent ones instead of old stuff? And they say, hey, sometimes a story that you've already seen will reappear toward the top of your newsfeed because many of your friends have liked or commented on it. This helps you see popular stories your friends are interacting with. And so we also have this placement of responsibility on what your friends are doing. So it's you are making things happen and your friends are making things happen. It's not that we are making things happen. And then finally, when users challenge that, they then say, so first you told me most recent worked, and then you say, oh, well, actually comments and likes and stuff play into it now. And then they respond with this, well, guess what? We've invested a lot to understand how newsfeed can show the most engaging content to the majority of people. So then they make this appeal to authority. So we started this misrepresentation, something of a clarification, still don't like it, well, guess what? We know what's up. We know what's best for you, so it's kind of like you're gonna eat it, you're gonna like it, kind of a feel to it. What's interesting about these moves is that they undermine the user's authority to explain their own experience of the site when they say that we know what's better for you. And not only that, but it devalues the relationship between Facebook and the users when they present misleading or just not factual information back to the users. The last one I think I took was Facebook tactics. So one of the tactics that they use is the technical. And they say that keep in mind that when you choose to unfollow friends, they won't be notified and you can always change to follow them again, even if you ever change your mind. Another way of saying that is if you unfollow someone, you will no longer see their posts and your friends won't know if you're choosing to unfollow them. So they like to play up this idea of the technical that has no social consequences. So unfollow is a very simple feature, you just unfollow someone. I don't want to see Lana's post anymore, I just unfollow her. And sorry, you were looking at me. So. We're all looking at me. I'm sure everyone else is. So those are some of the, these are some of the tactics that Facebook uses to explain how newsfeed works.